to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms, reporting live and direct from the center of the world, Mount Zion. What I believe is the home of the Ark, but those are discussions for other days. And, special shout out to our Patreon family. We appreciate, love you so much. And thanks to everyone that has subscribed, beloveds. When I'm recording this, it's 88.8. Nice. I love it. Go ahead and like and share the video as well. In this new season that we are, I really, really want to encourage you to take the opportunity to get your children back. Because we have not had the opportunity for so many years. Just with the way the world was set up before, where we had to work, our parents had to work, they had to be out of the home, so they had to send us to school. I mean, to the point where now, sending children to school is actually like law, like it's illegal to keep your children home in certain African countries. I'm not sure about, the West, but with everything that's happening, beloveds, when now there's an opportunity and to educate your child at home, it is so important to take them out of the Babylon system, because ultimately, and so many people have said this is about the children. Ultimately, this is about the children, beloveds, and they are coming for your children. And I wanted to share with you the purpose of education. Education has never been about preparing you, in any way for the world, unless it prepares you for the matrix, beloveds. Education was designed, it was one of the 7 pillars, one of the 7 military operations of the colonization invasion, beloveds. Because one of the first things they set up was churches. The second thing they were quick to set up was hospitals, and this was mainly first the Jesuits and other, religious denominations. And then they was quick to set up the schools. This wasn't a random thing. Because we have to recognize the mental orders the spiritual. And maybe I'll talk about, oversouls, how certain entities, like let's say animals, have one soul. That, like an antelope, a herd of antelopes will have one soul that is moving all those antelopes. It's one soul with multiple manifestations. Whereas us humans, each and every one of us has a soul. Well, that's how it used to be. And many now are actually, because they've signed over their power to these principalities, they've become an oversoul. I'm not get into that. I'll do a whole separate show on that. But education was made to make you stupid, because you come in with so much knowledge. But as you go through the education system, it rewires you, beloveds. And it's rewiring your children, and it rewires you to those times. So when education first came to Kenya, for example, and most of the African nations, it was done to create like a slave labor force, where you could do the basics. You could, reading comprehension, where you could understand the English or French. Mathematics, where you could do the simple additions, so you could be sent around and you could count. But there was nothing about the universe. There was nothing about sciences. Even the way physics and all this stuff is taught is like gibberish, beloveds. And it was all to dumb you down. Because nature is your teacher. Your mother is your teacher. Your father is your teacher. They're the ones that have the knowledge that you need. But even they were removed from themselves. And then imagine now the educator trying to bring up their children. Like, it's been done to dumb you down. And if you have not gone outside of the parameters of the education system, even in your own life, like you went through high school, you went, if you were lucky or unlucky enough, you continued with the indoctrination and got a degree, maybe even got a master's. Like, if you are still then that just shows how well versed you are in the Babylon system, but it does not show any kind of level of intelligence or knowledge of what is really going on in this world. Because this world is being run by the occult, beloveds. I've already done a show on how wizards and witches are governing things here. So education was done to draw you out of your natural environment, which would have made you powerful. And there's so many studies that have shown that, especially for the melanated children, beloveds, like, education is boring for them. It actually slows them down. There was a study that was done that showed, like, here in Kenya we have, what are they called? These where you learn carpentry and how to build and all these things, like polytechnics. And they were saying that for a melanated child, they should be at the level of the polytechnics where they know how to make tables and chairs and do all these mechanical things when they hit puberty. But this is something that's delayed to when they're in their late teens, early 20s. So it's like they've slowed us down and dumbed us down, and that's been the whole system. And because it's an occult world, those who took over power, this was explained to them, and they benefited from that. As I explained in a previous episode, the curriculums of Africa have not been changed, and many African nations have not been changed for decades, which means that children are still being, taught to be slaves, beloveds. And so you have to really go above and beyond. And I know now there's all kinds of rules and regulations about the education that your children should be getting. But really, take back the power of teaching your child. Don't allow them to also become, dumb. And the thing is, they tweak education to meet their current, propaganda order. So if the education of your children is not in your hands, you can't send your children to school now and trust that they will learn anything. That is really just being lazy and giving your power away. Sorry to say that, beloveds, but that's the truth. A lot of the things you don't know is because you didn't learn them in school. People don't even know astronomy. People think astrology is spooky. There's so much people don't know about nature. And it's happened so fast. Like, when I think about it, like my grandmother's generation, they were all into the herbal remedies. They were so in touch with nature. They could literally, before the, colonization happened, everyone was able to literally heal themselves of the basic things. And the doctors, who came to be labeled as witch doctors, were only called for the extreme ailments, and they understood that these things had a spiritual root. So a lot of the leaves and a lot of the trees, they had that knowledge. But by my mother's generation, that knowledge was gone, and they didn't even respect that knowledge because of the brainwashing that had happened and the fact that they'd been removed from the home so young. So they didn't even have the opportunity to learn that. Anyway, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. We are in the best of times and we are in the worst of times. I hope you're preparing wherever in the world you are. I hope you're stocking up on food. I hope you're stocking up on water, and you're just in a place where you're secure, beloveds. And security is not about having a guard at your gate. It's much deeper than that, but those are definitely stories for other days. When I say we're in the best and worst of times, is because we're in the worst of times in terms of really the prison planet is closing in on us globally. And we're in the best of times because we also have a small window and an opportunity to get ourselves back, to get our power back, to get our children back, to get them back in line and to empower them, beloveds. And that's what we've seen with the global collapse of the education system, where now they're trying to get children back, but you're going to have to meet certain rules. And because people were educated wrongly, many have been so excited for the schools to open so they can take their children off their hands. But you have to see education through the proper lens, beloveds. Education was a system to dumb your children down. It was also a system to teach your children only the matrix, like to indoctrinate them only with the matrix. And it's funny because it's been getting younger and younger. I think in our time, we went to school maybe when we were 5, 6. Even 5, 6 was a bit, let's say 5, your parents would be looked at funny. Now, 2 years old, beloveds. And people will be so proud about how their 2-year-old can use the tablet and can do this. It's like the education system indoctrinates your children to bow to the current system, to exist only into the current system, and to know only the current system. That's actually the most dangerous part, to only know what they say is real as real. And it does a lot to create, obedience, to literally, the way it is about obey and, sit. And if you look at the comparisons, like there's these crazy comparisons that have been made between classrooms and, like prison kind of situations where they eat and hang out. And it's all about this indoctrination to disempower your child, to stunt their imagination. Because after 15, 18 years or something of school, they're not going to really be able to think much out of the box. And it stops the natural passing of knowledge from one generation to the next that has been our heritage. As I told you, we were sent to schools to learn the Babylon system, and the greatest casualty of that was our own knowledge. And now the last libraries, beloveds, are leaving the physical realm, although they're here in the spiritual realm and they'll give you the information. But you have to be at a certain level. You have to have evolved and, elevated your mind to a certain level. So, beloveds, it's really important to start re-educating yourself and to create an environment where your children can be free to get their natural knowledge. And then the things that they have to, the requirements the different government requirements they have to meet, you can do that, but it doesn't take all day. They should be learning to plant with you. They should be learning to do the basics of life. Whatever your trade is, they should be learning it from now. As a healer, my children will be learning healing, beloveds. From early on, they'll be coming with me at the crack of dawn to pick the leaves, to, get certain roots, etc., etc. That's the life we need to get into. And then later, you can have a certain time in the day for them where they learn the Babylon system, but so that they can, you can keep them at home and they won't be taken from you. Many stories, legal loopholes. But you also have to now supplement that with the true African history, the true history of your people. We have to take back that power, observe your children, see where their powers lie, and then nurture that. And recognize, I think if you recognize that education was was created and designed to make you a fool, then that should really push you to learn everything there is. What is being kept from you, beloveds, that would set you free in a twinkle of an eye? What knowledge is being kept from you? And you see, it's secret knowledge that is governing the world right now, hidden in plain sight. Start reading outside of the box. Start looking deeper. And I would start even with, because all of us, our journeys are so different, and the information we need at certain times is so different. So I hope by this time you've developed some kind of relationship with your spiritual team. Ask them, what am I missing? What do I need to know? Ask these questions in your meditation, before you sleep at night, before you even go into the World Wide Web. And then watch Spirit drop the necessary knowledge in your news feed, in various different, media platforms that you're using. But remember, education did not make you nothing. And I realized that when I did my PhD, beloveds, because it's like the level of the PhD, and there's so much research that's been done, it like breaks your mind because you have to get all this knowledge and then you have to fit it into the Babylon system, and any illusion you have about what this system is about, breaks. But then you're made to somehow fit your narrative into the system narrative, otherwise you won't pass. But it's just like the depths you have to go. Crack something in here. So education was done to make you a fool, beloveds, but you're not a fool. There is so much natural knowledge, even accessible to you right now, to you in your meditation, to you in your contemplation. But you probably just don't respect it, or you don't even recognize it, or that channel as knowledge. But start to dive deeper, beloveds, and start with, what am I missing? What have I been not told about? Tuko pamoja.